Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another week here at the Jetson AI Lab. Today is June 25th, and we do have a lot of updates to cover from the past 2 weeks. Not only been working on the Agent Studio, Chitoku has released the Jetson Copilot and additional RAG samples. The Jetson Platform Services launched as part of Jetpack 6, which is like a lot of awesome microservices and takes a lot of the cool Gen AI stuff that we've been working on and puts that into production to use out into the field. So with that, we'll just hop right into it. I will cover my updates quickly to clear the way for everybody else here. Let me share my screen again. Try including the sound. Okay. So I have been busy working on this, adding a bunch of like fundamental features to this tool, and we'll put the page up on Jetson AI Lab for today and have that build out there for you guys to use. So we added these like presets in here, so you no longer need to manually add all of this stuff yourself, and all the tool calling. What we're going to show today is like the tool calling and function calling back in there working again. So you can load, save, store all of these preset pipelines and like merge them all together, so you don't have to make all of the different pipelines yourself and repeat all the settings every time. So this LLM that we're going to hook up to Home Assistant and weather stuff and robots and all that, the model that we're using for that right now is this specialized News Hermes Pro that we used before. I like to run this at 8-bit quantization actually, because it needs higher end accuracy on it, and it has a special system prompt here.
This is on Orin, correct?
Yeah, this is on AGX Orin still, but there should be small language model versions of these coming out soon too. All right, let's watch this bad boy load here. It takes a couple seconds. Okay, all right, we got this. Now let's add in the TTS pipeline to it. All right. Hook that all up. Hook this up. Let's look at the chat. Okay, so you see here it has these tool calls in it that have been added. These functions you can find either in this tools directory. Some of these have been refactored to be like actual plugins with state in them. Other ones are still stateless, like these simple clock and location, geolocation APIs. They're very simple. They don't, they're just simple functions, whereas these other ones are like the Home Assistant and the AccuWeather APIs, because those you need to save like your API keys and stuff with those. Okay, so first let's just make sure the ASR is working. Hey, what time is it?
The current time is 12:05 p.m.
Okay, did you guys hear the TTS through the speakers this time? Okay, cool. That works. All right, so it has a couple built-in functions here, just like time, date, location. You can turn those off, right, if you don't want to. How you add in the more complicated tools is they're actually their own plugins now, and some of these have various settings. I have API keys for these. I'm just going to copy them over right now. Here we go. Okay. And then how you actually link them to it is there's this output channel in there. You have to reset the chat for this model because all of the tools are in the system prompt. So you see now there are these like weather things in there. And if we go in and look at the prompt for this, there's this environment variable in here, this tool docs, and you can use templating in your prompts and inputs now that are linked to variables in the system, such as this, or like any functions that the bot can call, you can also call. And this templating will become very powerful for not only extending these tools, but also RAG and inserting like complex prompting structures and things like that. Okay, so it's got the weather set up. Let's ask it again here. Hey, what's the weather?
The current weather in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is partly sunny, with a temperature of 2.0 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no...
Hey, is it supposed to rain this weekend?
forecast for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's a chance of rain this weekend. On Saturday, June 25th, there's light rain during the day and moderate rain at night. On Sunday, June 20th.
Okay, so on the first question I asked it, it called the function to get the current weather conditions. Then it correctly, when I asked the forecast of the weekend, it called the weather forecasting function. It pulled all that JSON out and correctly surmised that it is supposed to rain this weekend. Oh, I'm just talking to it right now.
Are partly sunny with a temperature of 80.
What did I do to it? Okay, let's ask it weather for like a different city. Hey, what's the weather in San Francisco? Hey, can you hear me?
Will be heavy rain during the day and heavy rain at night. Thursday, June 27. The high temperature will be around 83 F with a low of 57 F.
Okay. Let's add in the home assistant. You can see there's like things to iron out with like the TTS and whatever. That's fine. Okay. Add in the home assistant plugin. I have this running in the other browser here. I've added in some additional more switches into this, so it's a little more complex. Here we go. There's my API key for this. All right. Now we'll connect it to that. Let's reset the chat again, make sure it added in the home assistant stuff. Okay, and we see now there are these additional functions that the home assistant tool provides for it. Hey, can you turn on the lights? Oh, did I mess up the API key? Hold on. It would seem that I did. Hold on. Hey, can you turn on the lights? Ah. Hey, I'm hot. Can you turn on the fan? Okay, can you turn off the fan? All right. Okay, so we see like the bones of this are working. There's some things to iron out with the things. It seemed like I put the wrong API key in there, but it was interesting because I just like returned the errors that it gets in the code back to it so that it can then help you with it. That's a strategy with like if it makes mistakes or whatnot in its function calling, you just put the errors that it encounters back in to its chat, and then it might run it again if it messes up or tell you what's wrong. For example, it told me like I wasn't authorized to access it, and I went in and put in the right API key and then it worked. So yeah, we'll be able to build this out now into have much more of these plugins in there. These are very simple. The nice thing about this is these functions share the same plugin interface as all the rest of the system. So this bot will natively be able to control the whole system by virtue of that. And all you have to do to register a new function into it is like this add tool call, and it goes in there. This is what the weather one looks like. These are just dummy examples to test this all with. And sometimes I make them more challenging than necessary to test. Like, can it call multiple functions in a row? Can it fill in parameters? Can it discern different functions or arguments that it needs to call based on your context? There are other presets in here that I've added too, like the whole live vision language model stuff is still in here. Let's see if that'll all load up. It takes a minute to load that one. There it goes, starting. Okay. Close this. All right, so we still have the live VLM going. We can go in there and change the prompt. Let's okay, I guess it just didn't like that one at that time. My overall vision in the long term for this is to make all the plugins like editable inside the system, so that you can just go in and edit all this interactively without having to stop or restart the code, and hopefully be able to load the plugins dynamically when the source files change. We'll see if that's possible or not with all of the heavyweight models and such that are running. Yeah, questions.
Interrupt you, but it's relative to this. Can you also demonstrate like using an ASR instead of typing in the auto prompt?
Yes, the auto prompt, it seemed to just be having some issues, and like obviously there's a lot going on here to iron all this out still, and like this whole web UI runs on like a JavaScript API to the system over WebSockets. So let's see if we can. That's a great. This whole thing is about like experimentation, so you might say like things break sometimes, and that's totally fine. That's what we're here for.
Yep.
Great question. Let's try that, and if not, we'll figure out how to do it. Okay.
I would imagine you can save this or export to these blocks, so you can reload them whenever you want. Something.
Yes. Yeah, that was the whole idea. Versus like last time I showed you like manually doing every one, and it just got tedious over time. So now I have these like presets in here, and this morning when I was like in this already to show, I just went in and like made these one by one, went in and like saved them like this. You save them in there, and then it will show up in this list. And these are saved in a mounted directory outside of your container. That will be retained later. Okay, so first let's put a monitor on the TTS to make sure we can view that and make sure we're not getting any funky output from it. Hey, can you hear me? Okay. Are you still working? It seems a little laggy. Hello, check. Oh, the VAD filter's not triggering. I wonder why not. Hello, how are you? Okay, so you see it only like triggers the whisper to run when that VAD filter crosses 50%. I don't know why it's having a harder time right now. Maybe because the system is a little overtaxed from the from this. Let's slow down the VLM. Hello, Can you hear me now? Okay, it's working better now. All right, so the way this auto prompter works, if we replace this with a text template, let's test first that I can just type in normal text into it still. I haven't tried that recently. Okay. So I'm able to type the text into this box. It then interactively goes into that. Let's see if we can change this instead. Hey, what color is my shirt? What color is my shirt? Seems like there's some lag in the TTS right now.
It seems to be answering questions that you asked long
that I
time
already
ago.
spoke. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Maybe there should be some kind of
hold on.
function to just erase everything and start
Yes.
all over
Yeah,
or whatever.
and there actually is. In these rate limiter plugins, these like drop inputs and on-demand things are responsible for changing the queue depths and things like that. It just seems to have gotten jacked up here. Hold on. What color is my shirt? Yeah, like all these monitors and stuff is why I have all this, because when it gets, let's like disconnect all these and hopefully that'll help. Hello. Check. For some reason, it still seems the web audio is lagging behind. Hello. Check. 1, 2. Okay, let's give it another try now. What color is my shirt? Okay, see, it did eventually go through. There's some queuing issue in the ASR, which was probably left over from the last run there. And once we like reset those queues or whatnot, suffice it to say, as these get like quite complicated, there will be issues to iron out with like this is a highly multi-threaded system and whatnot. Most of my focus so far on this has just been to get like the bones of it set up so it has all the capabilities there that we need to go on and build this out, which I feel that it does now, and we can continue to refine it. All right, always an exciting hour here at the Jetson AI Lab. All right, well, thank you guys. I appreciate the input. Is there any other feedback on things that like you that might immediately need? We do want to add like OpenAI connector to this for like local other models that might run through like llama.c++ server or OutLlama or other things like that, connectors to various microservices like the Jetson platform services, which we'll be able to do very quickly here.
I think I told you that one thing that I would love to see, I don't know if it is too far-fetched, is some kind of function in which I can program a robot to grab something and put elsewhere. Stuff more related to robotics, to movement in general. Then, because
yes,
yeah,
and I have robots sitting here for almost since like last summer when we started on this, but it's just taken so long to get like all these. If you wanted to do it like with vision transformers and VLMs and such, I assume that that's what you mean, as opposed to just like traditional pick and place or 6 degree of freedom object detectors and things like that, because all that stuff is in Isaac ROS now. And we recently launched Isaac Manipulator with the 3.0 SDK release of that. So you can go in and use ROS to pick and place, and we want to add that stuff to the Jetson AI lab and eventually we can make like a ROS bridge connector for this as well. Yes, yeah, like a ROS listener into this system, because eventually that is our end goal here, to like put all this on robots. We're just like making the brain right now. Yeah, Brian.
Hey, yeah. So get rid of my hand. So I missed the last meeting. I apologize. Does this generate code? Like, how would you use?
It will. Yes. Great question. So right now yeah, so you were at the last meeting. How this all started is we wanted to like do a next level agent that basically save the VLM history and then let you like summarize over it and use that function calling agent on it, integrate them all together. And like, you know what, before I make more spaghetti mess out of those agents, which you had looked into when you were more working on yours, I was like, let's take a step back here and maybe make an easier tool for it. So the code now, I can just link you to like the dynamic agent for it, and it's basically just like a list of these plugins that can then be, right now it's exported to like a JSON or a YAML config file, but it could very easily spit out Python code for you to like deploy. It can also just be run as a service today. Like when you start this thing up, you can just say load myagent.json, and it'll just go off and do that and expose the WebSockets API for it and everything. But I'll put in like a little template generator that just basically takes the JSON file and spits you out a Python version of that. What I'm not sure about yet is how I will be able to retain the editability of all of that. Like if you're going in there and making custom code changes, will all of that still work within the GUI for you to like simultaneously be editing it? It would seem like the editing would be better going on in like these custom plugins and callback functions, which I want to add an interactive code editor into this for, or at least one that like scans your file system changes and reloads the module, right? We'll do that first. But it remains to be seen like the agent itself you need the code for.
Perfect. Yeah, because like I'm actually about ready to start on our next round of the prototype. We got a really good reception at some of the conferences here.
Glad to hear it. Yes, and I appreciate you getting this early. And like, yeah, it is can be frustrating to figure all that out. And hopefully this tool makes it easier after we iron out the kinks, right?
Yeah, and we're going to definitely lean into contributing back to the Jetson containers repo. So, for example, facial recognition. We're building a facial recognition system, which would just be nice to have that snap into the pipeline, and then like we're also doing thermal imaging.
Yeah, so and you'll totally be able to like make your own plugins for this and like keep them yourself like out of tree. It can take in additional directories to load.
Yeah, I mean, none of this is proprietary for us.
Sure, but let's just say that it was, because that is part of this, is like open source, and that contributes to, because we do want people to go off and actually, and all this is like MIT permissive license, and that's totally cool. We actually do want to enable that, but want to have people contribute back in the ways they can. So thank you, I do appreciate that.
Cool. Well, this is. Your work is always
sorry, we lost you there a little bit.
Oh, I was saying this is very awesome. Your work is always very
impressive. I would think I will put this up on the page today. I didn't want to release it too early because of like some of the little minor annoyances that you saw. Didn't want to like frustrate people too much out of the gate. But now that I have like the preset loading saving going, I'll rebuild the container and put up the page for that later today, so you guys can go try it and tell me all the things that are broken in it. In addition to like all the CSS and the JavaScript, and yeah, it's a lot. But ultimately, it enables you to just like on the fly experiment. Like you asked, like, could you just speak to the VLM and change the query that way? And like, yes, you can go and hook it up. And ultimately, this will become much more complex when we start hooking in all the RAG and databases. That's really where I'm going with it. Yeah, there was somebody else that had a question or had their hand up. Was it Mike McGovern? I'm sorry if we missed that.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for showing this demo. This is really cool. I just had a quick question about this Agent Studio. Is it compatible? Like, would this run on a Jetson Orin Nano 8 GB if you used more quantized?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of those other agents we already have do, and like that mini Vila VLM that I showed running, that will run on Orin Nano. And the interesting thing about this Agent Studio is it has the memory monitor and system stats up there.
Yeah.
So you can interactively see like, ooh, I can't keep loading more models, or I'm like running out of memory here, and you'll be able to tailor the agent for the memory capacity that you have, and adjust the quantization levels or the size of the models, everything that you have running all at the same time. And it is cool because now we have like Whisper and Piper and the mini VLM and SLMs in there. It is all geared towards deployment on Orin Nano 8 GB, because that's really what we want to enable, that entry level. Getting all of that working simultaneously continues to be a challenge, but we continue on with that, just like we optimize down Whisper and Piper, so at least you can fit those alongside each other. Right now, you can do the whole ASR, SLM, TTS pipeline, or the mini VLM pipeline. It's difficult to run those both simultaneously, because that VLM also loads the clip or SIGLIP vision transformer, which take like another gig of memory. So it is a challenge to fit that all in there. But yes, we target that in mind. On the regular, I just develop on the HEX Orin, because the memory is not an issue there. As we'll see later with Shag, I use that to do fine-tune Mistral on that thing, which is awesome. Okay, any other questions before I turn it over to Toku? There was a question here about the API. Is there an API to pull in a weather channel prompt? So I just use like AccuWeather right now. I had like messed with Open Weather API, but yes, in your own prompt, you can call those weather functions. It's just like, call it like an environment variable in those brackets, and it will go out and search for variables, or actually any Python attribute of the plugins you can pull in to your prompt, which ultimately will use that for RAG and other more advanced templating once we start connecting all of this stuff together. And so, yeah, not only is the function calling itself very templated and adaptable at runtime, but the prompting is as well, which I think will be ultimately important to the flexibility of the system. Okay, on that front, thank you all for your encouragement building out that project, and I do think ultimately it will speed our progress in making these more advanced agents. And hopefully the next project Toku is going to show here will help us with those tasks as well, with the Jetson Copilot that he released. You want to take over, Toku?
Oh yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, you got a poll going here.
Yeah, I was actually going to later mention this.
Okay, I guess it's already up now, so we can.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah, but
that's cool.
Yeah, we can come back to the poll later. But let me share my screen for now and get going. So this window. So yeah, I will talk about Jetson Copilot. It has been open sourced. It's open sourced last week. I'm pretty excited about it. So I'd like to share with you. Actually, this time I'd like to give a demo. So if you just like type Jetson Copilot, Google it, it will come up. So the first thing, oh, that's a forum post, but you can like go to the GitHub repo. This is how I made a cool sort of banner image. So hope you like it.
It looks good.
You can also find it on the tutorial is also found on our Jetson AI Lab. So you can read through that. It's pretty much the same as this README. So you can refer either of them. So yeah, in essence, it is a reference app for running large language model and RAG pipeline locally. So just on Jetson without getting any cloud support. What it uses internally is Orama. This is a great tool to host any large language model. So that's what we are using. I think this is sort of like, you know, the first step people take nowadays getting into this world of large language model. It's very easy to use. So Orama is there. Llama index for building the RAG pipeline. And Streamlit, this is something that I fell in love recently. It's a Python library to let you build an interactive web app pretty easily. I made this app literally just within a weekend. And yeah, it was pretty easy to make this kind of web app. And you can make it sort of work as a standalone application. So it is pretty great tool. So yeah, like to demonstrate all that. So if you are the first, it doesn't require just an container. It has its own sort of setup environment script. So if you just run it, it takes care of all the prerequisites. And the script is to sort of launch the container, and if that is on the desktop, it's going to launch the Chromium application to just, you know, have you tap into that web app. So I'd like to demonstrate that. So this is, I hope you can see. Let me get it over. This is the desktop of Jetson. I'm gonna just run a JTOP. And from the desktop, I can just like run as a program. It's same as just executing the shell script. It's taking a little time to spin up the container, but now it's available and it's loading on the side. So yeah, Chromium app is now sort of launched in frameless mode. So you don't see any of them. So this is like this. And then you can start asking questions like, what OS does Jetson run? It's gonna take some time. You can see GPU is already running. So yeah, here start spitting out all the 1, 2. So there are some like questionable answer because this is purely based on Llama 3. Right now, what I'm using is Llama 3 as it is without using any RAG. It's not being augmented by any retrieval result. So yeah, this is a great way to sort of supplement this plain large language model, which has some cutoff date, so you don't have any decent information or your personal information, right? I mean, like information related to your document, like pertain to you. So what you can do is to turn on the RAG, and conveniently, I already have this index built already. I mean, this comes with it. This is sort of like a sample one, so you can just select it. And what's interesting is that you actually get to see the system prompt, how that is being constructed. This part, what's important is that this part is going to be replaced with the results that you retrieve based on your question. So RAG pipeline, you can like look up anywhere. It will make a first retrieval. That is to just pick up whatever relevant information related to your question and then present that to large language model, sort of like as an added context. So
how many parameters has Llama 3 is like?
Oh, this one is just a default one, so 8 billion. It will run on your Jetson All-in Nano as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so this part is going to be filled. So that's how the lag works. It's as simple as that, actually. So my favorite will go to question what IP address does Jetson. This is something you can find in one of the README file. That's what has what I use to build the index already. Sign when. Let's see here. I guess I'm giving a lot of clue, but here you go. So Llama index is in work, and it's not using any vector store. So it's purely actually relying on CPU to do this first time retrieval. So getting the context is kind of it will take time, but like it has already probably finished taking the context, and it's all large language model work. So here you go. Yeah, this is the correct answer. I mean, a lot of people what they use. And you can also see that this answer is based on the README file. You can actually like ask the question. You can actually formulate your question in such way that it will like really tell you what exact file in what line it find the answer. So that's all, part of the capability of large language model. You can just rely on the large language model to do all that. So it's pretty cool. So
what quantization are you using? 16-bit, 8-bit, or 4-bit?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What quantization are you using? 8-bit?
Oh, this is, yeah, I believe 4-bit. So if you can go to the download a new LLM, it's going to list out the.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, let me pull it up. So yeah, it shows all the quantization parameters here. So for Llama 3, it's 4-bit quantization.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems to be the default that's being supplied by Llama, so I'm just going with it. Another thing I'd like to show is that you can, of course, add your own index based on your documentation. So this is how you build your index. Index name, since I have already provided this PDF file, it's about the Jetson All-in Nano dev kit. I'm gonna just name this index Jetson All-in Nano. Well, it's actually carrier board, so CB. And this directory is already selected, and what it has is this. You can also check the size of this file, so you can kind of get the idea how big this is going to be. This looks good for now, so I'm gonna just build an index based on this. You can check the progress of it. It's probably going to get, yeah, this is fast. It's a megabyte worth of PDF file, but it can scan through and build an index pretty quickly. Index is done. Let me see the status of it. So it took 16.4 seconds, and the resulted index is about 1 megabyte. So it's equal amount, I guess. So if I go back and then turn on the RAG, you can actually find that index. So you can start asking questions related to the carrier board of All-in Nano. So yeah, I can let you. I will let you sort of come up with your question pertaining to carrier board of Ori Nano. But yeah, it's a long PDF just to go through is a pain. So sometimes working a tool like this is pretty helpful. You can even like read through what I can pick up the text in the image. So that's also a good way. I'd like to switch a gear to VS Code environment. Since thank you so much for all of the people submitting your answers to my poll. If any of you haven't answered, I'd highly appreciate if you also give an answer to the my poll. But yeah, so if you are rather CUI person or the headless mode person, I am too, by the way. Actually, I'm going to be sort of nice and try to close this. I did some tricks so that it's going to close hopefully close the Copilot. I mean Chrome window as well. In some time, all right, forcefully closed.
That is pretty nice, like the bezel-less thing that it does on that window.
Yeah, the frameless window, right? Yeah. Actually, if you have some kind of like a trick to make it like even more like
collegato a una riunione, ma non è una riunione, qualcuno che sta chiacchierando.
Sorry, let me find
it was irrelevant. Let me get back to the VS Code and show you. So you can do the same thing, launch Jetson Copilot. And here you go. It's not launching Chromium since this is all on CUI. And if you open up simple browser in VS Code, it's a convenient way to do this kind of web development. So here you are. You're again on this, and you can start doing any query. And I wanted to show you something great about the VS Code. I mean Streamlit. It's already sort of configured to rerun as whatever changes. So what I would do is to do, I don't know. I don't have a good idea of what I can quickly
put in
change.
like a print statement somewhere or something. You want to show that it like hot loads the like that. That's
right.
Because you don't have to stop and start the whole agent like every time.
Usually, yeah, that's right. My keyboard is not reacting for some reason. Oh, great. So if I do, I need to actually do always rerun. So I just change this part. If I change it back and save, this gets changed. So yeah, you can see the cycle of this development.
And since the models are actually running in the Olama server, right? It does like exit this application and restart, but this is just like a thin web server on top. The UI looks really good, and we can absolutely like increase the performance of the back end of it. That's not the actual the important part. More so like the workflow, proving that it works, then like us going through and experimenting with the different embedding models and making sure it could pull those details out and learning about RAG. And like highly encourage you guys that you can go and like change the skin of this and upload your own indexes and data in the longer term, the more accelerated APIs. We have those on the Jetson AI Lab too. But Olama and Llama Index are very easy to get started with. The roughly like half of the performance in terms of tokens per second that you would get from like MLC or AWQ or like what I showed with the the Agent Studio. But those have taken a lot more work and optimization to do. And for people just getting started, we recommend the Ollama route, which we've built these RAG samples and Jetson Copilot on top of with Llama Index.
Yeah. So thank you, Dusty. So yeah, I hope if people like it. Again, this is a reference app, and this is to run on your Jetson, so you don't need to worry about messing with anything. So you can do whatever in your own environment. Give a try. If you find any issue, please submit any issue on GitHub issue. We got a couple of already, and it got resolved pretty quickly. So yeah, I think we can give some support. So yeah,
Thanks,
with that,
I
I can turn it back to Dusty.
Yeah, you do hear a sensitivity to like businesses and such uploading their documents into like these RAG systems, and a lot of them want either local or like on-premises services running that because they're like sensitive documents that they have, right? So edge computing, local models are becoming more and more of a thing. Initially in this, it was like, wow, this stuff is so massive and big, like nobody can run it themselves. Over time, we continue to try to make it easier and easier, while at the same time ramping the complexity of the agents. So it all kind of comes out in the wash, but we're trying our best here on both fronts and on the performance too. So thanks so much for showing that to us, Chitoku. Not only is that like a great open source example that you guys can go in and tweak and change for like your own needs, but it's actually like a useful tool that you can start with today. But I think like the long-term vision for that, right, Chitoku, is it could be integrated with the Jetson desktop itself, or like Jetson platform services, and even like the Agent Studio. You can have the Copilot there controlling like the nodes and the plugin pipelines for you, and knowing all about the system at runtime. So I think this is a great start to doing the RAG at the edge.
This could actually integrate with Ubuntu. So just like you have with Windows 11, you have now this little thingy Copilot that you click and this thing shows up and does all kind of stuff. It would be nice to have this running Ubuntu for Jetson. And you got what I mean? So,
yes, yeah, absolutely. I was saying like on the desktop when you boot it, or like remotely. Everybody's like using headless here. It would seem, but yes, and you could just keep loading it up with like all the HTML docs and PDFs and everything. Okay, with that, let's turn it over to Sammy Ochoa. He's a member of the group too, and works on the Metropolis team, and had been integrating a lot of the vision language model stuff and LLMs and vision transformer, like the NanoL Zero Shot, into like these production microservices. And we learned a whole lot during this process, not only about like accuracy, characterizations, quantization, improving the performance, but bundling this all up in a more secure, stable environment that actual users and developers can go off and build on, while we continue like experimenting and rapidly iterating here. So Sam, if you're there, if you want to share your screen, feel free to take it over. Yeah.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, we can.
Okay,
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the intro, Dusty. So yeah, Jetson Platform Services, it's kind of a suite of pre-built microservices that kind of help you build video analytic applications. So we just recently had our general access release a couple of weeks ago. So I'll point out some of the links here that would be useful for people getting started. But we have our main documentation page that kind of gives an overview of what Jetson Platform Services is and kind of how it works, how to install it. So we have this quick start guide. That's a good place to start. And it's all focused on building intelligent video analytic applications that are built on top of different microservices that integrate with each other in different ways. So we also have like a reference cloud and a reference mobile app that help you kind of monitor all of your all of your cameras, and you can interact with the different services. So I'll put these links in the chat in a little bit, but the two that I'm going to focus on that I worked on is the visual language model service and also the zero-shot detection service. So I'll give two demos for both of these, and we can start with the VLM one. But kind of the way this works, this is just an architecture diagram of how it integrates with some of these other services. But one of the services we have is the video storage toolkit. So this is a service that helps you manage kind of IP cameras and RTSP streams. And it has this really nice web dashboard that lets you view all of your added cameras. You can set up different like recording settings to save. You can like record and save all the footage, and there's APIs that let you access certain video clips from the past that you can integrate into your applications. So we can add these video cameras or RTSP streams into the video storage toolkit. And then those can go into our AI service. So actually, let me go back to the VLM one. So the VLM service can take these RTSP streams from the video storage toolkit, and then it also exposes this REST API that lets you interact with it by setting alerts and also asking questions. And then based on the response from the VLM, it'll generate an overlay, which you can view on an output RTSP stream. And it will also kind of parse the output and generate some useful metadata like the alerting states. And this will go to our monitoring and alert services that can integrate with the mobile app, or also like the AWS simple notification service. So you could get like text messages or emails whenever the VLM detects certain events. Hopefully that kind of made sense, and then let me show what it actually looks like. So whenever you install Jetson Platform Services, it comes with a set of Docker Compose files that are really easy to launch. So after you go through the installation, you can just run Docker Compose up on the VLM example, and it will just start running. And then you can view a couple different outputs from this. Let me open VLC, and we can view the output RTSP stream with the overlay. So you can see here, like in the logs, this is all based on Dusty's Nano LLM. So this, if you're familiar with that, it'll probably look pretty familiar. But it's launched the VLM model in the background, and now it's waiting for us to add an RTSP stream. So this service exposes several REST API endpoints that you can use to interact with it. So I have Postman opened up here, so we can add an RTSP stream. So I'm going to add this animal.mp4 RTSP stream. And this is going to send that post request, add the stream, and now it's showing up in our RTSP output. And then to get the VLM to actually do something with this video stream, you can do two things. You can add alert rules. So here we can say, are there elephants? Are there zebras? Are there snakes? Are there giraffes? We can send this. So we've sent these 4 alerts to the VLM. And now the VLM is going to look at this video stream and evaluate these 4 alerts on the frames from the live stream. So now you can see rule 0, the VLM output, it's saying true for rule 0. And rule 0 was, are there elephants? So the VLM is able to tell that there's elephants and output true for that alert state. And then these alerts can be integrated with other services or other applications. And the way you can do that is these alert states are output on a WebSocket. So whenever these alerts are true, it's going to send an output to this WebSocket. And there's actually a cooldown of 60 seconds, so it doesn't keep spamming you. And I think I connected after that cooldown went in, so there's nothing showing up right now. But eventually there'll be a notification here. So you can integrate these alerts with WebSockets, and we have a reference mobile app that I don't have right now, but that mobile app will actually let you receive these alerts, and you can set the alerts from the mobile app. So here's that alert that came in. So it tells you the VLM alert got triggered. It tells you the alert rule, that it was true, and then it gives you a timestamp and the stream ID. So this information is used by our mobile app, which is on the Google Play Store. So you can download it on an Android device and integrate it with this. So then the other thing you can do, the idea here is kind of you set your alerts, you get some notification, and then if you want to ask some follow-up questions. So we also expose this chat completions endpoint that kind of follows the OpenAI style API format. So you can give it your system prompt and then your user messages. And then whenever you send this, it's going to replace these alerts with your prompt. So it says, can you describe the scene? So it was still looking at the elephants. The scene just changed. But it's only a one-off response whenever you send these chat completion messages. And then you'll immediately get the response from that. And what's kind of special here is if you're familiar with the OpenAI chat completions request, we've modified it a little bit to add the stream content type. So whenever you add a stream to the VLM or to the zero-shot detection service, it's going to return with this unique ID. And then you can actually reference that in your chat completions request to tell the VLM which stream to look at to answer your question. So right now, it only actually supports one stream, but we're setting up this API to support multiple streams. So that's in our roadmap.
That's really great. So does all the messaging, I can only assume it can hook into like message brokers to the cloud systems like Kafka or Redis or things like that. Is that the broader vision here for doing like edge to cloud and things like that?
Yeah, so it goes out over WebSockets, and then it also outputs as Prometheus metrics. So if you're familiar with Prometheus, it's kind of a metric management service where all of your microservices can output a bunch of information, and then Prometheus displays these dashboards that will show you the active alert rules and like what the state of the alerts are. So from Prometheus, you can integrate it with another service called Alert Manager, and then that can integrate with like AWS Simple Notification Service to send push notifications or text messages or other things. So that's one path, is through these Prometheus metrics. And then another path is directly connecting to that WebSocket.
Yeah, everything's like web ready with everybody's stuff. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it all, at the same time, it's all of your actual data is on device, and you're only exposing what you choose to. And I know the one shock is that your one article that you have on Hackster goes into how do you set up VPN server on your Jetson or local network and like be able to tunnel into that externally. Let's say you have a home assistant at home and you want to like browse it from your phone or systems like this. And you can still expose it to the internet and still be secure and in control of all of your data. Yeah, this is awesome.
VPN, you mean?
Yeah.
Open VPN.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that given the extra mile that you've gone here, Sammy, to like integrate this with all of the and like actual services people are using in production and larger scale systems will do a lot for the adoption of this stuff. In particular among like IBA and robotics customers that need more stability.
Yep, I hope so. Because we tried to make it pretty easy to integrate with other parts and make it customizable. And that's one of the other things about this is this service is also open source. So let me I'll put the GitHub link in the chat in a minute. It's it's up on GitHub. We have the VLM service. You can go look at all the code here. and modify it. And there's instructions on how to like rebuild the container so you can kind of get back to that microservice and easily deploy it. Yeah, you can go check this out, customize it, build your own services, use it as a reference. And then real quickly,
That's
we're
awesome.
kind of running out of time,
Yeah.
but I can show the.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean,
the
this is a great
zero-shot
development
detection.
model, right? Where like we prototype all this stuff here in this group, like right now, and then you guys are able to take it and put it into production for everybody to use, and then like contribute back into the open source, and just around and around we go. And we will add connectors into like the Agent Studio too, and meanwhile it's like running similar code base underneath. So I think like Brian and I were chatting about earlier with like the commercialization being part of the open source development model. You know, it is great to see, because ultimately we want this all to be adopted and to for like autonomous machines and smart IoT devices to you know, become widely deployed out in the world.
Yeah. So here I have the zero-shot detection service launched, and it shares similar APIs to the VLM. So the stream adding is the same. The difference here is with the zero-shot detection model, and we're using NanoOwl. You give it your list of classes you want to detect, and then your thresholds, so kind of the sensitivity for the detection, and then it will run it on the live stream and output the results. And these also, the detection bounding boxes get pushed out on Redis, so you can make another application or service to read those detections and do something else with it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think between NanoOwl and the VLMs, like those are just so powerful vision primitives, and the applications are really still catching up. And it's understandable because it's such a deviation, a paradigm shift in how we're like approaching computer vision. But I think all the tools everybody has been making here in this group and continuing on to build up agents and bots built around this, we will see these deployed into the field within the next year or so. Probably with embedded stuff, it just like takes longer to get things out the actual door. Meanwhile, we're here working on the demos and getting it all ready. But just being able to like type in what you're searching for, or in the future having the LLM be the one that types it in, the controller LLM, and with the function calling, being able to adapt all that and to crawl over the event log for you. And that's where we're heading next with this. And that additional complexity added on is what like pushed me over the edge to do that node editor, so we can just hook this all up much more easily and capture more advanced workflows. And in the future, probably be, you know, capturing all of this data as it comes in and being able to fine tune models iteratively, either on device or in the cloud, should you have a large edge deployment. And it had been one of the original items of interest of this research group when we initially launched it, was like on-device fine-tuning, and we hadn't had the bandwidth to get to it. But last week or the week before, Shagizat did, and he's been one of the longest-running, earliest contributors of doing Gen AI at the edge and on Jetson. So I just wanted to thank him again for going out there and you know, experimenting and figuring all that out, if it was even possible to do. Shagizat, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that article a little bit. I'm happy to bring it up and screen share it, or like if you want to, please do. It's your work, and I love all of your pieces up there on Hackster, and you definitely contributed those. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Let me briefly describe my guide. My guide is pretty similar to other guides available on the internet. People training using standalone NVIDIA GPUs, but here I decided to train using NVIDIA Jetson Orin. I used your Dusty bits and bytes container.
Okay.
I recommend to use this container because, as you know, you can't install this package just by pip install. So it will save people time.
And we do.
Then,
yeah.
Then I install different packages. 1DB is weight and bias. This is good tool for tracking your training results. And the data set. I use open system data set. Basically, I use a base model to train Mistral instruct model. So I use this open system dataset, which have 9K samples almost. And let me explain what technology I used. I used LoRa, which is common technology for fine-tuning large language models. Basically, I use combination. I use QLoRa, which is combination of quantization and LoRa. Then the main code is the simple. You just need to declare your base model, data type for your training. I use brain flow and different parameters for QLoRa and for training itself, like per device training batch size, credit accumulation step, like for evaluation as well, and optimizer. Optimizer is also important. I failed to run this page.
Did you change those from the defaults, or like were those
yes? I was
interesting.
Like, trying different combinations.
Okay. Yeah.
And unfortunately, page other optimizers I was not able to run. It's always failed to some errors, but the regular 8-bit is working very well. And then I froze the results to the weight and bias metrics. As you can see, it literally people can follow training from this web interface. Like when it's finished, it will be written that it's finished, and it will also show different trends, like for evaluation loss. As you can see from this picture, it decreases over time. And I also here for these parameters, it takes like 1 hour 43 minutes. Then I tried to.
Was that for one epoch?
It was for. I use not epoch strategy. I use this steps strategy.
Steps. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot how. I think it was 100. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was 100.
Okay.
Steps.
So did it train over the whole data set? That because you said the data set had 9,800 chats in it, right?
Yeah. There is. It's for whole data set. I did some splitting. I believe it was.
Okay.
Forgot.
I'm just trying to get a sense for how slow.
Yeah, for whole data set. Yeah, for whole
okay.
data set. Yeah, and
nice.
I also tried to reduce the training time by utilizing flash attention, but unfortunately it doesn't help. Maybe I made some mistake with the parameters.
We can look into that. I do have flash attention compiled, but I actually don't. I haven't tried it in transformers because they normally don't like really use transformers except to confirm models work for inference. This would be one of the first times like we actually want to get transformers working relatively fast, and like bits and bytes is a very slow quantization. It's actually slower than unquantized because that's not the point. It's just to like save memory, and it's very simple to use for training purposes. But it would seem like it all worked.
Yeah, just for demonstration. Here I don't have any like good demonstration, but I will show you another demonstration. I use this dataset to generate like synthetic dataset using ChatGPT. Like I asked it, like I will show you where it was. Like I make some prompt, like you are fan of Harry Potter series. Like every question you ask, you send a short message. Like to answer to this question, like what does Jimmy Neutron do? Like in Harry Potter manner. And I collected data set. I collected almost, as you can see here, I collected almost 13,000
Nice.
Like samples, I spent $10 using ChatGPT 4.0. Like this is
Is that
one of
all
the
it was?
yeah.
Is it like? I mean, I get that this is for like research and whatever. I don't know if that's in the terms of it, but I know like NVIDIA released that Nemo 340B, which is like explicitly made for this type of synthetic data generation under like a commercial license. But obviously, like this is mainly what when people do to make large scale data sets. They just have the smartest model make the data set for them, which we'll get into.
Yeah, question like what the name of towns in Japan, and it's like output from ChatGPT, like in Harry Potter, like Patronus, something like. I think Harry Potter fans will not understand, but
Nice.
in Muggle world, it's from Harry Potter series. And I use Redis broker like to generate in quiz system. Like this is like pure like Redis. Like to generate like in Quay from ChatGPT. Key is written 25K, but in fact it generated 13,000. So then I trained using not Mistral, I trained using Llama 3, 8 billion. I create some chat prompt, like then the parameters are the same, which I use for Mistral, for this QLoRa, little bit tuned these hyperparameters, use the same other optimizer and train the model. Like I will show you this inference. So basically, at the end, of course, I merge the model and push it to the Hugging Face. This is Daisy, your non-LM. I grab my fine-tuned model from and use this MLC LM quantization. Like I will show you how it works. Sorry if it will generate some incorrect information, like hallucination, like this.
This is super cool. Thank you for pipe cleaning this whole workflow for everybody.
For example, tell me about Canada. Like you see, Canada is later on judgment, much like Hogwarts.
Yeah. Like, it likes emojis. Those are like all the emojis it's putting out.
Yeah. With Robert Hamer, for example. Yeah, so wise wizard guiding the world through the magic of nuclear physics. I don't know why it come. Maybe it's end of sequence token. I don't know. Tell me.
A lot of times those are like Unicode symbols that don't show up in the terminal, or the it might be like you changed the template, like you trained it on a different template that's not the Llama 3 one anymore.
Yeah, Mike, but I also play with these parameters, like this infinite.
This sampling.
Temperature.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to confirm that still. I have to retest all of that as well.
Yeah, I observed that Llama 3 maybe was the most hallucinating model. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I observed.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Agus. That's really
no problem.
Useful. And I think over time, as all of these systems mature, an obvious part of that will be back-end collection of the chats and the data and fine-tuning LoRa's for either specific tasks or user profiles, things all done in a privacy conscious way, since it's still locally holding your data. And if you can even train the model right there overnight or whatnot, it seems like this actually only took a couple hours. That's very encouraging. And we can even integrate that into the whole agent workflow right there, just to like iteratively improve the model. And I think once you start, with the audio logs and speech and stuff, you get much more real-time feedback with how the system is performing that you might not get just from like the thumbs up or thumbs down RLHF style, which people aren't so inclined to. If you could put like a sentiment classifier on top of the audio and tell like the user's perturbed at the system, then you can automatically know that chat isn't going well and be able to fine tune it out. And that's in addition to all like the more agentic stuff that we want to do, which is make much more specific agents, like for controlling the robot specifically, or running different control loops or RAG functions that aren't going to be good for general chatting, but still, have a programmatic control flow baked in that we can use that synthetic data generation to much more easily make those data sets for. And so earlier I keep showing that Noose Hermes Llama Pro model, because it's like one of the only ones out there that does function calling reliably. Alongside that, they have another one called GenStruct, which it will make training data sets for agents and other agent-like models for you, and you can like fill out its profile and things like that. And now that you showed you're actually just able to run transformers, we can all much more easily start playing around with that without needing to like spin up other massive infrastructure. Obviously, if you were like doing this for real, you would. And I think in the field, like how a lot of these deployments work, like everyone's like their social media feeds or whatnot, and all these systems are training LoRa adapters specific to you, and those are switched out at runtime and can be batched. In fact, in TensorRT-LLM, that's a feature, is the LoRax is the technique that it's called, which Apple was using in their own device stuff for training, and they also train LoRa's for every specific Copilot feature that they have. So I think eventually we'll go down those paths. But as always, Shakazat, thank you for leading the way out there. You've done a lot of the early work that we've then gone and followed up in the community. So thanks again. All right. Well, as per usual, we were stopping at about like 15 minutes, 20 minutes past the hour. That was all really interesting stuff. Thank you, Chitoku, Sammy, Shakazat. We've had a lot to digest here this week. We will keep cranking on it and keep our heads down, keep working on this stuff. I'll put the Agent Studio build out and docs later today and tonight, and you guys can start testing that out and tell me what needs fixed, what you need added, and hopefully over time we can use that as a bridge for like all this disparate stuff going on. Just like drop those widgets in there. The next meeting will be on July 9th in 2 weeks. So until then, everybody take care, stay in touch. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us here. This group's just really been awesome to be a part of. So thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon. See you guys.
See you.